I went back and forth with our friend of the show, Joel Rush from Forbes magazine, or Forbes.com, and I've said this a lot. In fact, I think the first time I said this was back when the Nuggets played the Lakers when Jamal Murray did the dribble around Lonzo Ball thing. And I wrote an article over at Denver Stiff saying that, like, he, as much as anybody in the NBA, has what I think is like an accurate representation of Mamba mentality. Like, there's a lot of like dumb interpretations of that, but I think like Jamal maybe has the most of any player, this idea of like thriving under pressure and embracing challenges. But I also think Jamal's game might be more similar to Kobe's than just about any player in the NBA. He's a guard, so it's different. He's 6'5" and he's a point guard, and obviously Kobe Bryant 6'6" and a shooting guard, so they're naturally a little bit different. But I actually think the footwork, the moves, the style of play, it more mimics Kobe. I don't know if there's another player that I would say that's more Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that they at least got that one camping together, right? And that Murray clearly viewed it as an influence. The footwork thing is I think the most sort of apt sort of angle of this comparison. Who are some of the other guys that often get it? Devin Booker gets it a lot.
And I think Murray and Booker are pretty similar players, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, both Murray and Booker are more three-point shooters than Kobe, but I think that's as much in them being 6'5" instead of 6'6", 6'7", and as much of them being in 2020 instead of 1996 or whatever.
But that is undoubtedly the cloth he's cut from, right? Certainly a shadow of the form, as Kobe was MJ before him, but another one he comes from
would be Jason Tatum. I think a lot of people would say Jason Tatum in there, but I think Tatum is almost one of the things about Kobe was like he's an attacker, right? He's just like there's some kind of like I'm going at you. I think Tatum has like almost perfect footwork, but there's almost he's almost a dancer. The way he plays is almost like artful instead of like Jamal Murray is just, a killer.
And it's smooth, but it's also like very vertical, like I don't know, there's an upright sort of stiffer kind of thing to Tatum. Like Kobe had a little bit of that slither, kind of herky jerky thing to him as well.
Right.
Tatum's slightly stiffer. Tatum's footwork is just, whether you want to make comparisons or not, it's just so good. And I think that's the source of that.
There have been players who have had, like Joe Johnson was a player with really good footwork. But you wouldn't compare him to like Michael Jordan or anything because it was very much a like, I'm not, soft is the wrong word for it. It's just, he was a finesse player and he was like the footwork was everything. Whereas I think Kobe was masterful footwork, but then like a panther or something. He's using this like great footwork to be aggressive and go right chest to chest at you. Whereas Joe Johnson, I feel like, was always just trying to get an inch of separation for this or that.
Right.
But
what Murray has too is just wearing the verging on psychopathy on their sleeve, right? I mean, just dripping in emotionality and raw energy.
And we talk like Jamal Murray, he's matured a lot in his time in Denver, but I think one of the things that can be frustrating about his personality is also like things that it is part of that what he shares with Kobe, and that like he's in his own world sometimes. Yes. And I think that's part of where you're like, bro, I'm not trying to slight you, or I'm not trying to pigeonhole you, or you don't need to do this or that, but like he does need to, because it's just how he's wired. Like he does.
That's for him. That's what's going on up here. Yeah, exactly.
It's annoying. It can be very frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I don't have that Mamba mentality, so who am I to say how to change who you are?
Every great artist has a process, and that process makes them all pains in the ass, as we know all too well from hanging out with Eric Weedham every day.
Oh my God! Oh my goodness! Can't believe it. So I just love it. Like maybe that's a video I'll work on here in the off season. I wonder if the people would enjoy it. Just kind of a Kobe Murray comparison, because if I put this out on Twitter, this is like, I saved this for the chat. I almost threw this out on like Saturday. Whenever I was talking to Joel, I almost threw this out. And then I was like, dude, I will just get dunked on by the Twitter mob, the like hive mind Twitter mob that's like, no way, he's nothing. He's not even in the top 10. But I watch a lot of Jamal. I watch a lot of Kobe. Kobe was my favorite player for many, many years. I watch a lot of them. They're way more similar than I think people realize. So, all right. Anything else before we take our first break here?
Well, I just want to say,
Go ahead.
Don't look any further than the actual Murray mentality thing. I mean, this is something that Jamal is like openly embracing.
Murray mentality.
Yeah. It's got a logo, I believe. So
it has a logo?
I think so. I think
like a
so.
Logo for Murray mentality?
I feel like, wasn't he wearing a chain or a shirt? I don't know. I got to double check. This is
weirdly, this is a Jamal thing. Like, most people would just say Mamba mentality and copy. Like, I have something else. He's like, no, I have my own mentality. It's the same
100%.
It's mine. Like, it's
100%.
It's me. And it does make you, how he approaches this rehab will be so fascinating. We'll talk about that, I know, on the other side. But, Kobe, that was a big thing with him. He has the famous stories where he's like, when he went and shot the free throws after the Achilles injury, he said that was because mentally I was starting my rehab. Like, there was no like, all right, I'm going to take a week off. I'm going to do this or that. Like, no, it was like, that for me was a sign of like, hey, we're starting a new process and this is the first step. And there's something you got to respect about that. Like, I always thought it was it felt performative or almost dumb that he would shoot those free throws. But the farther I got removed from it, the more I'm like, no, that actually it's all mentality. And sometimes these token acts actually can carry real big meaning if you allow them to. And that's definitely
it's what you get when it's the truth, when they're walking that walk,